Hi, you are tuned into another episode of the Business In Shape with Leela podcast. I'm your host Leela, your business magical genie and online business manager here to grant your operational wishes with systems, processes, and automation hacks that will optimize your workflows, making your coaching business more efficient and saving you hours of time you spend inside your business. Hey bestie, so in today's episode, I want to talk about something that I am sure every single one of us has struggled with at some point, sticking to the good habits and routines that we know will help move us closer to our goals. You know what I'm talking about, right? So maybe it is finally deciding you're going to start meal prepping healthy lunches for the work week instead of grabbing fast food every day or order outside, or committing to hit the gym 3 times a week after years of putting it off. Or for all my fellow business owners and entrepreneurs out there, finally getting serious about time blocking your days and task batching to crank through your to do list. So we get so excited and motivated to start these habits that we just know will be game changers for our health, productivity, income, you name it. But then, after a week or two, or maybe even just a few days, if we are being honest, we fall right back into our old patterns and routines. What is it that makes building these new habits so damn hard, even when we logically know they will help get us to where we want to be? Why is there always such a big disconnect between our big goals and ambitions and actually following through day to day? Well, from my own experience and from talking to so many other business owners and friends about this over the years, I have found there are few major culprits getting in our way. So the first is simply underestimating the time and the energy it actually takes to establish a new habit. I can't tell you how many times I have fallen victim to this trap. I get all hyped up thinking, yes, this is finally going to be the week I start meal prepping lunches. It will be no big deal. I will just spend an hour or two on Sunday getting it all ready for the whole week. But then Sunday comes, and between running the errands and other things, catching up on household chores, and just trying to work in a little downtime, that hour or 2 hours I had mapped out for the meal preparation gets shaved down to more like 30 minutes. And trying to get a whole week's worth of lunches ready in a tiny time frame like that is just a recipe for disaster, a recipe for failure. Next thing I know, I'm scrambling around Monday morning with no packed lunch to my office, and I just write the whole week off as a failure before even it starts. When in reality, if I had just accounted for the true amount of the time and energy it would take to make that habit stick, I could have set myself up for success from the get go. And another major pitfall is going too extreme too fast with our new habits and routines. This one is so easy to do when we are finally feeling motivated to make a change. But when we tip too far into the extreme, it's really tough to sustain that level of intensity for very long. Let me give you an example from my own experience here. When I first started trying to get intentional about time blocking and batching my tasks for my business, I made a schedule where essentially every hour of every workday was scheduled down to the smallest of the details. Looking back, it was silly and just totally impractical. I had blocked off a literal 2 hour chunk just for checking and responding to emails. An entire hour every morning for a very regimented gratitude and meditation routine. It went on and on like that. Basically, there is no flexibility or freedom while I'm doing the things or whatsoever. So, because I had tried to be so extreme and rigid with it, that strict of a routine was just impossible for me to stick to for more than a few days. Naturally, something would come up that made me have to ditch the schedule, whether it was an emergency client call or a batch of deadlines that required way more time than I had allocated. So I would end up getting so irritated and frustrated that the whole schedule was blown off, that I had just abandon it altogether and fall back into my normal habit of disorganized days with constant task switching. So these days, when I'm trying to build a new habit, whether it is for time management or anything else, I try to start with way smaller, easier steps to build that consistency. So instead of time blocking every single hour, maybe I'll just start with just two 90-minute windows per day that I will treat as distraction free focus zones. That's a lot more achievable and easy to stick to than my old extreme routine. And from there, once I have got that new habit cemented, then I can look at adding in some extra blocks in my day or whatever next layer I want to build towards. Now, the last major pitfall I will mention here is simply getting sidetracked whenever life gets crazy. And if there is one guarantee in the world of entrepreneurship, it's that there will be always multiple curveballs and fires to put out each week. So maybe you hit a streak of days or weeks where you are just absolutely swamped with the surprise client work. So that new daily routine you are working on establishing gets totally sidelined as you scramble to handle the increased workload. Or maybe you have to take some time off of your work to deal with a family emergency or a personal situation, or you get hit with a round of sickness or migraine like me that just completely throw you off your game. So these types of unexpected disruptions are going to come up on a regular basis for all of us. All of us. I mean, life happens, right? So, but the problem is that it becomes way too easy to let those disruptions completely destroy any progress you have made on building your good habits. So instead of looking at it as a just temporary detour from your routine that you can get back on track with once life calms down again, we treat it like the habit is shattered into a million pieces and we have to start over from the scratch. And for most of us, getting started is the half the battle. So by telling ourselves we have to completely restart the process each time we get derailed, we make it that much harder to re-establish those good routines once the curveball has passed in your life. So those are some of the biggest obstacles I have personally faced when it comes to building and sustaining habits, especially around productivity boosters like time management. But the good news is that awareness around these pitfalls is the first step to finally making habits stick. So once we are conscious of things like underestimating how long it takes to build a new routine or going too extreme with the expectations and letting small detours snowball into totally abandoning the habit, we can be intentional about avoiding those traps. So it's also important to have a self compassion and not beat yourself up during this whole process. We as humans are imperfect creatures of habit. So we will inevitably slip up here and there, no matter what, no matter how serious you are about it. So if you find yourself having fallen off the habit horse, don't let that inner negative voice take over. Don't think of it as a failure or weakness. Simply take it as a chance to realign, reassess what went wrong, and get started at again. That's how you finally make habits stick for your life. So, before I wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a simple activity to try out as you work on establishing new habits for yourself. So, first, think of one specific habit you want to commit to. Maybe it's time blocking your days, or preparing healthy meals, or even just taking a true lunch break instead of walking while you are having lunch. So, whatever the habit you have been struggling to lock in, get that in the mind. Now, take out a notebook or just grab a piece of paper and pen. Across the top, make two columns. One labeled as enablers and other one labeled as barriers. So in the enablers column, I want you to write down all the things that will make it easier for you to actually follow through on this habit. This could be things like setting calendar reminders or preparing the night before or having an accountability partner, or it can be something like clearing the distractions from your environment. So anything you can think of that will enable and empower you to stick to that habit, get it written down under enablers column. And now in the barriers column, write out all the obstacles you can envision getting in your way as you try to build this habit. So this could be something like unrealistic time expectations, or decision fatigue from having too many choices, or a simple negative self talk when you slip up, or when you fail to meet the deadlines, or when you fail to stick to that routine. Or it can be something like, if you're married like me and if you have kids, it can be something like disruptions from kids or spouse or pets, anything. So once you have your to list in your paper, take a good look at them. And for all those potential barriers under the barrier column, start brainstorming the ways you can plan around them or counteract them with your list of enablers. So here the goal is to make your habit routine as simple as and automated and roadblock free as possible from the start. That will remove so much of the friction that often causes all our new habits to fall apart. So give this exercise a try and let me know if it helps you. Having awareness of both your enablers and your barriers puts you in a powerful position to finally make habits stick for good. So one of my favorite thoughts to keep in mind during this whole habit building journey comes from the Atomic Habits guy, James Clear. He says all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every skill is planted in the mundane. So every big achievement, every huge accomplishment, every single one of your biggest goals first started as a tiny significant habit. So even when staying consistent with habits feels tedious and mundane in the moment, remember that you are planting the seeds for something extraordinary to bloom. So I will leave it there for today. And thanks for tuning in. And I will catch you next time right here on the Business in Shape podcast.